should be handy to go back to your teams with some set of standards that you can apply to your Gherkin scenarios and your feature files in order to improve them. Maybe you can use this at some sort of a code review that should not just review the usual application code, but even the Gherkin scenarios themselves. So here are some items. Feature file should be limited to scenarios of related functionality. Don't just try to pile all kinds of scenarios into single feature files. Make sure that they are at least related to one another. On that note, limit the number of scenarios per feature. I would not want to put an absolute limit on it. Be reasonable, work with your own team, make sure it makes sense. There are some who would want to impose a limit of like 5 or 6 scenarios per feature file, but I tend not to be very dogmatic that way. Just do whatever makes sense for you and your team. The next one is limit the number of steps per scenario to something readable and reasonable. Again, some people would like to impose some limit of, say, 10 or 20 steps per scenario, even though I've seen scenarios that go well above 100, and that's even well beyond reasonable. I wouldn't want to impose any kind of hard number. Just do something that makes sense for you and your team. Next, use consistent spelling, grammar, and spacing. This will, of course, lend a lot to the reusability. If you have differences, even minor ones in spelling of certain words here or there, certain changes to your grammar, that's going to have little differences that will make it so that more scenario steps will be there, which would lead to more step definitions that will come out in your Cucumber code. So if you are consistent, then that would lead to a lot more reusability and something that's easier to maintain as you go along. And then the final one is do not use punctuation at the end of step phrases. That's a good best practice. Don't have periods, commas, or semicolons at the end. It tends to mess up how your steps get executed.